What's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to talk about Btdigital's earnings results. It is rallying on a pretty good earnings. What's really good isn't what they reported, but their forward guidance and some commentary in the earnings. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Bitcoin on the chart, what it just got rejected by again, and also a good sign coming from the Bitcoin miners. If you guys get something useful out of this, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It definitely helps me out. And let's look at this Btdigital news first. Now, I'll leave this down below for you guys so you can look over it yourself, but I'll go over a couple things and then I want to go over why I think it's rallying. Now, total revenue, 29 million. There's a 220% increase compared to the quarter 1 year ago. And going over to TradingView, you'll see Btbt, the 29 million. They estimated a 26 million, so they did beat that. They missed their EPS. They still did report a loss, which was expected. But I'll just cut right to the chase. One of the reasons this is rallying, in my opinion, is they are guiding for a profit next earnings and a record quarter for revenue. Last quarter, before the quarter they just reported, they did report more, so this is not a record quarter, but that's basically in line with what we're getting from the Bitcoin miners. We just got through the halving, and it makes sense to see a little dip in revenue. Some of these Bitcoin miners that were previously profitable to go back to unprofitability. By the way, Btbt was one to report a profit pre-halving. Not all of the Bitcoin miners did that, but basically what we saw is a huge growth in revenue year over year and a decrease in revenue quarter over quarter. And I'm not going to go point by point here, but revenue from Bitcoin mining was 16 million, which is an 80% increase from the prior year's quarter. And their AI or HPC was 12.5 million in revenue compared to nothing in the prior year because they recently just got into AI. Looking at their cash and cash equivalents, 61 million in cash, 191 million when you weigh in their Bitcoin, everything else. Total assets of 315 million, shareholders equity of 295 million. They did report a loss. They also reported a loss on their digital assets because of the price of crypto has gone down quarter over quarter, so keep that in mind as well. And so far, at least from what I've seen, I haven't seen a single miner post a profitable quarter. Now that we're post-halving, we haven't seen CleanSpark post a profit. We haven't seen Iron post a profit. Btbt here didn't post a profit. Wolf couldn't post a profit and hasn't yet. Bitfarms couldn't post a profit and hasn't yet. Sphere 3D couldn't post a profit and hasn't yet. Also, looking at their average fleet efficiency, this is very ugly in my opinion. A 27.9 joules per terahash. I am not in Btdigital for the Bitcoin mining alone. I am in Btdigital for the AI, for the ETH staking. And to me, Bitcoin mining for Btdigital, this is not the reason to be in Btdigital. They are far from the most efficient Bitcoin miner. But be that as it may, I do expect this to outperform some of the other Bitcoin miners, specifically larger cap ones. Their current hash rate is a 4.3 exahash with 50,000 miners going. You might scoff at that 4 exahash, but keep in mind that Btdigital is a much smaller company than something like a CleanSpark or a Mara that's in the 20 exahash range. Btdigital still is like $500 million company. Btdigital had 17,000 Ethereum actively staked in native staking. This is one thing that's huge right here. This is one reason why I'm in Btdigital. Their AI. In the second quarter of 2024, they finalized an agreement to supply their existing customer with an additional 2,048 GPUs. To help finance this operation, the company entered a sale leaseback agreement, agreeing to sell 128 AI servers, which is equivalent to 1,024 GPUs, and lease them back for 3 years. In late July, due to the customer, the company agreed with the customer to delay the purchase so that they could potentially upgrade machines. Btdigital expects to provide additional details about the revised deployment timeline, but this contract does remain fully in effect despite this delay. It may end up being amended to provide for the newer generation GPUs, but Btdigital does still appear to have this contract. And in August, they received a $30 million payment from their customer, half of which will be distributed to their leasing partner. And check this out. This is some recent news. This is partly why I think it's running, along with expecting next quarter to be a profitable quarter, which I don't think there's another miner expecting that. But let me know if I'm wrong. I'm like 99% sure that Btdigital is the only one expecting profitability in the next earnings. There could be another one though. I could be wrong there. But look at this. This is pretty big. Boosteroid Inc., the world's third largest cloud gaming provider, is planning to sign a master service agreement with Btdigital to purchase GPUs over a 5-year service duration. Btdigital provides Boosteroid with options to draw down servers in multiples of 100 up to 50,000 GPU servers within 5 years after signing this MSA. This 50,000 GPUs presents Btdigital with an opportunity of revenue of over 700 million in the 5-year span. And this deployment is planned over 10 different data centers throughout the US and Europe. And jumping over to the management commentary, there are things that I skipped, like I said. So make sure you look over this yourself. But look at this, our growth pipeline remains strong. We continue to believe that we'll be able to reach our 100 million annualized revenue target by year-end 2024, even if the 2000 GPU expansion deployment with our existing customer is pushed into 2025. That's right, they still expect that $100 million annualized revenue by the time they get to 2025. They should be able to pull in 100 million per year. That might not seem like a lot, but when you only go a few quarters back, you'll see that Bit was making under 10 million per quarter, which is kind of the equivalent of around 40 million per year. So they are almost tripling up their revenue in a very short amount of time. But like I said, Bit is guiding for a profit, and they are also guiding for a record quarter in terms of revenue, nearly 34 million. One thing about Bit on the chart is we do have a gap here. This is known as a breakaway gap. It is a gap up on good earnings. Pretty large amount of volume. I would want to see a little more volume continue to follow this through, but otherwise there's a possibility we fill this gap. Remember the breakaway gap with CleanSpark that I didn't expect to get filled, it did get filled. So you never know, but if you like Bit for this cycle, I do think it's still a good add here. If you can't wait, better yet would be to wait, let it cool down, buy on a dip, buy during fear, not buy during greed. A day that we're up 20% is a greedy day. But I do overall expect Bit to go up and to the right. I do think these Bitcoin miners are going to continue their bull run. I do think Bit isn't going to see some of these lower prices until we enter the next bear market, which could be as little as a year from now, as much as a year and a half from now, who knows. I'm not necessarily adding here. I do have some covered calls at $5. I would like to see it come down and test the 50 MA. A break of the 50 MA could bring us to fill that gap, and that would be a fantastic chance to buy some Bit Do keep in mind on the 4 hour, we are a bit overbought now. Every time we've got to this level, Btbt is pretty quick to pull back, but it does continue upwards. So maybe we get this nice little pullback. A fill of the gap down here. This is the 4 hour, so it's not showing that gap. But anyways, we get a pullback, fill of the gap, and then we go on to rally, cool down the RSI, go on our next leg up. Keep in mind, you know, there is profit taking quite often on this one. When it runs up, there is profit taking, but luckily buyers have stepped in the past. And in general, Btbt always creates new higher lows. I do expect that to continue over this cycle. Having said that, you know, don't pile in on these crazy 20-something% days. There's always another Bitcoin miner out there that's worth buying. If you are going to chase, it's probably not a bad idea to set a stop loss and just mitigate some risk that way. Now in this article, I'm going to go over the Bitcoin miner section. There are 3 reasons why this shouldn't be a boring September according to this article. I'll leave it down below for you guys. But look at this, Bitcoin miner selling pressure flatlines. As you know, recently there was a lot of selling pressure, some miner capitulation. They wanted to get their money. Now that we got through the halving, these miners need to sell a little bit of that Bitcoin to stay afloat, make sure they can fund future growth, so on and so forth. Well, the selling pressure has flattened out over the past 2 weeks as miners' reserves are beginning to show signs of a trend reversal towards accumulation. And you'll see down here how it kind of is starting to pick back up. It seemed to have found a floor and is starting to recover. This chart shows that the miner selling pressure decreased significantly in August, suggesting that Bitcoin could stabilize at its current price range before next month. And Bitcoin is playing games. It ran up right up to its 50 MA, found resistance on it, and got pushed right back into this pattern. False breakout. We did not get a candle to close out of this pattern. I do think we will. It could be a shakeout where it kind of rallies and then it dumps, or it dumps first then it rallies. These patterns do tend to kind of fake people out a lot, me included. If we get a good drop out of Bitcoin, I mean, even if we don't get a good drop, in my opinion, these are the last times to buy this cycle. You don't want to be chasing Bitcoin when it's finally getting towards 6 figures at the end of this year or in 2025 or wherever it may be. You want to be buying early while everyone's fearful, while people are worried. If you missed the boat in 2022 and 2023, this is basically the next best time to buy unless you're going to wait until 2026 or 2027. So that's just my opinion about Bitcoin. I'm just following the cycles. In my opinion, nothing holds more supreme or holds more true than the 4-year cycle. Bitcoin will always follow its 4-year cycle. There will always be a bull run around the halving, and there will always be a bear market at the middle point in between both halvings. But thanks as always for watching, guys. How are you feeling about Bit? I'm definitely glad to see that run. I just hope it doesn't quickly run to 5 or I might get called away on it. But hey, these mining stocks are very volatile, so maybe that'll end up being a good thing if it happens. But let me know what you guys are doing with these Bitcoin miners. How are you making passive income on your positions? Are you utilizing your cash on hand to sell cash secured puts? Are you utilizing your shares to sell covered calls? Are you doing other more complicated option strategies? Let me know in the comments below. And also, how do you feel about Bit earnings? Let me know if I'm wrong, but so far from what I've seen, this is the only Bitcoin miner to expect a profit in the upcoming earnings. I could be wrong there. Let me know if that's the case. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.